have interview questions that get asked time and time again. Now, when I was a manager, no one looked over and gave me a yes or no, wrong or right answer booklet. There is no right question to ask. There is no right answer to give. What they want to see is how you cope under pressure. Knowing that is key because it kind of lets you calm down and say, oh, okay, yep, this isn't too bad. I can't really get this wrong. It's more about the way I approach it. So say, for example, they ask you, what is your biggest weakness? That is a question everyone hates to answer. So to answer this question, you don't go ahead and say, oh, well, I'm always late. I hate working. I guess that's my weakness. No, you have to give yourself something that can be worked on. So for example, for myself, I tend to be very gullible. So I see the best in people and I tend to forgive and forget very quickly. Now, this translates to someone that might have a problem with confrontation and believing what a customer said was promised to them. So in this case, I might say, I tend to be naive and very forgiving, which is true, I do. But I'm not going to leave it at that and let them say, ooh, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I'm going to go right ahead and follow it up with, but I'm working on it. I have discussed it with previous managers and I think I can definitely get there. And I have done a lot of improving. So that's what they want to hear. They want to hear that you can identify what you're bad at and how to overcome it. I think that's the most important thing to remember. So with all these questions, like I said, there's no right or wrong, so long as you're going into it thinking like you're a manager. If you're a manager, what would you want to hear? How would you want it to be put to you? Say, for example, someone says, so what do you do in your spare time? If you go right ahead and say, I party every single weekend, I've got such a good social life, all my friends love me, that's not going to get you anywhere. They don't want someone that's going to come to work drunk or come to work with a hangover or have all their friends come and hang around. No one wants that. Like I said, there's no wrong or right answer, but it's the way you convey it. So say, for example, you do have a good social life or you have a lot of friends. Say, well, I like to get to know new people. I find people very interesting. I think I can learn a lot from everyone around me and I'm always willing to learn. See how that has turned it into something that's a bit more interesting, into, so this person might learn a lot from their teammates. They will get along with this person because they're open to opinions. See how that works? Hopefully that helps. Now I'm going to throw in a huge don't. Do not under any circumstance apply for a job or go to an interview together with a friend. Even if your friend has gotten an interview for the same day, pretend that you don't even know them. Or when you get to the interview, say, you also interviewed my friend. Don't bring them in at the same time. This is your time to make yourself shine away from the others. This is your time. Don't ruin that. They've given you a chance. Now, at the end of an interview, they will always ask you, so, do you have any questions? To say no questions at all kind of makes you think too easy. You kind of look like, okay, well, that was easy. Bye. But asking a question is very important. And it doesn't even have to be a big question. For example, I like to ask something along the lines of, so when are you looking to hire? When do you think I'll know by? It's a question that makes you look like, look, you're really interested. You really want this job and you can't wait to find out if you got it or not. So think about it like that. Find a question that suits you, that feels natural for you, a question that you genuinely want answered, and ask that to the interviewers. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is group interviews. Now, this is something everyone dreads, and that's okay. Now, when you get called to a group interview, that means you have to compete with 20, 30, 40, 50, who knows how many people. And it just gets really hard. The person next to you might have way more knowledge than you do about this, may have history and histories and histories of experience in this field. So what makes you different? The first thing to remember is if you don't get this job, that's okay. You take it as a learning experience. Practice what you need to practice in a group interview. Don't go in expecting, yes, I have to get this job. It's do or die. If I don't get this job, I will kill myself. No. Go in thinking, okay, this is going to be different. If I get this job, great. That means I'm better than half the people that were there. If I don't get this job, that's okay. On to the next one. I have always taken that approach to group interviews. I think that going in thinking it's either you get this or your whole life is ruined is such a bad thing to think, because you don't know who the next person is. The next person could be Steve Jobs' uncle's daughter. You don't know. So the last thing you want is to be comparing yourself to other people and feeling horrible about yourself that you're not good enough. So go in thinking of learning. Take as many notes as you can. Take a notepad, a pen. That'll one-up you as well, because it means you're taking this seriously. But the one other thing you can do is stand out with passion. If you're going to a group interview for a job that you really, really want, you've already beat about 20 or 40, 30, whatever, people there. You really want this job. Show that. Show your dedication. Make sure that when you're there, whether you're just waiting for everyone to call you up or whatever the case is, if it's a group interview and someone is sitting next to you that's applying for the same job, talk to them. That's going to show whoever calls you out. If you're in mid-conversation and they come out there and say, oh, hello, we're ready to interview you, they see you're already talking. Now, that is so vital. First of all, you don't know if one of these people have been planted there just to see if you're going to be a great fit or not. Always talk about something work appropriate. Don't be inappropriate thinking this person's just my best friend now and I can say whatever I want. Don't swear. Don't do all of those. Don't make that mistake. Another thing is in retail, in big sales, in even Safeway, Coles, whatever it is. If you're applying there and you can't even talk to someone, that's not a good indication. You have to be more outspoken. You have to try your best. Even if it's not in you, that's completely understandable. It's not for everyone. But you have to try. Now, I can't stress this enough. Make sure you are early. Any interview, any job trial, early. Early bird catches the worm, right? We've all heard it before and it couldn't be more true. When you go in, you have to make the most of your time there. Make sure that you're early so you can at least talk to some staff. See if they enjoy their job. Ask how it is working there. There's no problem with that. They're not going to see that as a bad thing. And it'll make you look like you really care, which you should really care. Now, the next thing is the trial. If you get called back on a trial, you almost have the job. You basically do have the job. People don't waste time on people if they don't think they're real potentials. Now, when you go into a job trial, like I said, go in super early. Make sure that you are communicating with everyone that's working there. They're going to be the people that decide your fate. Your manager might not always be there watching over you and seeing what you're doing on your job trial. You might be super nervous because you're thinking, oh, do I even know what to do? No, and they don't expect you to. They'll either show you or they'll ask you to shadow people and see how they're going. For example, for my job at Laser Clinics Australia, I went in and I was just like, wow, this is such a different trial. When I got put there, my manager asked me to just look over what everyone else is doing, just shadow people. And I thought, oh, okay, let's try this out. So I did. But I also talked to the girls. I looked over their shoulder, but I also asked some questions about what the system is doing, what you're trying to accomplish in the system, and basically greeting customers. I know they didn't tell me to, but if I see a customer that's not being served, I'm going to say, hey, how you going? Even if I have no idea what the next step is, at least I've greeted them and they feel welcomed in our store. And that's the sort of thing that you want to show your manager you can do. Now, the manager wasn't always there watching me and watching what I can do. The other girls were. And of course, the manager is then going to go ahead and ask them at the end of the day how I went. And they're going to be your voice. Now, you've got to impress them. You've got to make them feel like you genuinely care, because if you don't, then why are you even here? No one wants to hear if you're not going to put in effort to get to know the other girls or guys. No one's going to want you there if you don't actually have an inkling of what the job's about. We all know that you've got to greet customers, and that's a simple rule. Greet customers and you'll be all right. Another good thing to find out is what their best sellers are. Now, the way this is going to help you is if someone asks you about a product that is always going to be selling and selling and selling, you want to know a bit about it instead of being like, oh, sorry, hold on, it's my first day. Wait, let me ask this person. And that's okay. That's okay. If you are put in that position, by all means, ask someone else. Don't pretend like you know everything unless you do know something about this. But that's why it is a great idea to get some knowledge before you get started. And that's another reason you can use that first 10 to 15 to 20 minutes that you arrive early to soak up some information for your first shift. Another thing you want to remember is that sometimes you're going to get rejected, and it's okay. You just move on to the next thing. If you have put in so much time and effort into getting a job, it's okay if you don't get it. It just might mean that you need a bit more practice, and that's great, because if you don't get that job, you might get the next one. Another thing you want to do is take down notes. Take down notes after an interview, after a trial, just to remind yourself of how you went and how you feel like you can improve for the next time. I think you'll be doing such a favor to yourself by just informing yourself, reminding yourself of, if you didn't get that job, thinking back and saying, okay, well, I could have improved on this. I will next time. And having that thought process is going to help you tremendously. You don't want to be a know-it-all, and you're not a know-it-all. No one is. And it's okay. Now, just before I go, the last tip I want to give you is if you're passionate about the job and a little bit nervous, it's okay to say so. If you're walking into an interview or just going into for the first time, and you say something like, I'm super nervous, I love this shop and I would love to get this job, I want this job so bad, just tell me what to do, I'll be your person, or I'll be your guy, or I'll be your girl. Now, that sort of passion is so good to hear. It's such a relief to see someone that actually cares about the company and knows a bit about it. But be honest. If you don't genuinely care about the company, you don't genuinely want to work there, that's not going to work, because they're going to see right through when they ask you just a few questions. Just remember that, and I hope that this has helped you so much. I'd love to hear about all your experiences. I'm sure some people will leave tips as well in the comment section below for others to read. Tell me about your experiences. Tell me about what you've learned over the progress of, whatever lifetime that you've had in the work industry or work, whatever field that I'm trying to get to. It's getting into a point where I'm really hungry and I need a coffee, and because this has been going on for so long. But I hope it's been helpful. I love you all. I appreciate all your questions and comments on Melbourne Gal Pals and the makeup lovers and all the rest of it. So thank you so much for all the support. Just a huge shout out to all the girls on Melbourne Gal Pals and the Makeup Social and Makeup Addicts and all the rest of it. You guys have been amazing and such great contributors to all my videos, and has helped me tremendously. So I love you all. Hopefully it's helped. Like I've said hopefully it's helped a billion times. I'm losing my mind. And get the job you want. Go do it. Learn, study, do your thing, take notes, be the best that you can be. You will get there. I promise you, you will get there in time. You will get there. This is the best tips that I have ever shared with anyone. My sister has gotten every single job that she's had her eye on, and she's only 18. So please let this be a listen to you all. Love you all. Bye. I'm going to go get a coffee.